Links Out Loud is firing over our mics, connecting those headphones as we prepare to get rowdy. I'm Matt, and I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts, Wendy and Nate. We are three
Delightful
friends
co-hosts.
sitting
You're
around.
supposed to say delightful co-hosts. Splendiferous. Three BFFs. EBFFs.
We are two friends and one co-host sitting around a virtual table talking about Linux, open source, technology, gaming, and everything in between. We keep the banner-friendly the conversation somewhat on topic and have fun doing it.
Matt, you shouldn't exclude Wendy like that.
This week we are spouting off about Valve and Arch. Is it a match made in heaven? Let's get into episode 99.
Wendy's a friend too, Matt. You can't say that about Wendy.
Except for it's an inside play because anybody who actually knows the show knows I mean you.
What? No. Matt.
But
you talk
if
to
you
me all
are
the
new to
time.
the show, we did have someone new pop in that made a comment last week on 98. Yeah, just one new one. You know, I mean, we are very unprofessional here on this show. He did say that he liked the show and that he enjoys all of us. So if you're new to the show, there is a whole lot of banter that goes on. We have a ton of fun doing it, and there's a running inside joke. Well, you'll figure it out.
Yep. You will figure it out, and very quickly.
You'll figure it out.
That sounded singular as opposed to plural. I think there's probably a few.
Okay, no, I would say we have multiples, right? So you'll hear me talk about Magneto. Magneto is the nickname that my husband has been given. So if I do talk about him, then that is the man I've been married to for the last 19 years. Yes.
Who breaks technology like there's no tomorrow. Because he has his
own
magnetic field around him. But anyway, all that being said, I got Wendy. What's on your plate that you've been up to? Because no one really cares about Nate. So,
well, I am in the show notes first, and it's definitely been time for the kids to have an upgrade on the systems that they use for school. So my son needed some help with something. He brought me his laptop, and I was like, holy crap, this is running so incredibly slow. Yeah, it's time for an upgrade. And I started searching eBay for those upgrades. I'm not buying them new laptops, kind of for the same reason that I didn't buy myself a new laptop, is I could find a system that's, 3 to 4 years old that still has absolutely amazing hardware in it for way cheaper than I could find something new. And if you take the time and scour eBay, then you can find some pretty good deals. So the ones I ended up finding are called Grade B. So yeah, there's some scuffs and scratches on the case, but otherwise everything is good condition. These are Lenovo ThinkPads E15 Gen 3s. Yeah, I know, it's a mouthful, but
so
these
B,
are Ryzen. Yes,
kind of like
B.
the high end of what I got in college.
Maybe. I don't know. What grades did you get in college?
It's not important. I was making sure that I was understanding the grade thing.
Just throwing that out there, yeah. So the ones I ended up picking them up have the Ryzen 7's 5700U. So that's 8 cores, 16 threads in a mobile CPU. They've got 16 gigs of RAM. Now, the SSDs are a little bit on the light side with 256, but for them, it isn't a top priority to have a large SSD. And of course, there's the built-in Radeon graphics. If I would have found something with a dedicated GPU for a relatively good price, I might have picked that up. But really, the only games that they're playing on these laptops is Minecraft. And their old ones have been handling it fairly well. So this should be absolutely great. They are a 15.6-inch screen, and only, and I know Ryan might throw a little bit of hissy fit over this, 1920 by 1080 resolution. They're not editing on them, right? I think that'll be perfectly fine for their use cases. They're not here yet. We are recording on a Tuesday, October 2nd. They should be arriving this Friday. So by the time that we record again, we'll have had them for quite a while. Yeah, I know you're not getting this until, like over a week later than the date that we're recording it. But, we do this when we can. So yes, by the time we record again, we'll have had them for a little while and I can update you on how they go. I'm kind of playing with what I want to throw on them. Some of the laptops that we used this spring that I had to take to robotics so the kids could finish getting their screenshots of their Minecraft world, I had thrown Nobara on. They run pretty good. I think most of the laptops that they're using right now have Kubuntu on them. Playing with the idea of throwing a variety of different things on there. But I know for sure they'll be here Friday. They'll probably only boot Windows because they are coming with Windows long enough to make sure that everything works. And then once we confirm that, yes, they're what they said they were from eBay, all of that good stuff, Linux will be immediately thrown on these.
Wait. I know we're on a Linux show.
Uh-huh.
I just heard Windows. Now, I can't speak much to this, but you're actually booting the machine to see if the hardware works with Windows, correct?
Yes, and I'm only doing that because in case there's anything wrong with the system, I don't want to have to reinstall Windows before sending it back.
Nobody wants to reinstall Windows ever.
Right, exactly. So if I make sure that everything boots, that all the hardware's there, that they run well, which isn't much for mine, it was pretty basic. Yep, I turn it on, I check the hardware, make sure everything's exactly like they said it was, give it a little bit of a spin. I think it was only booted for more than 15 minutes before it was wiped, and then Linux was installed on it. So I don't expect any more than that, but it's going to be a process of doing 3 different laptops with the same thing. The downside is on Fridays, I'm usually editing DL. So, DL might have to wait while I get the kids' systems up and running because they're pretty excited about them.
There you go, being mom and all that stuff.
That's totally understandable, though.
Right. Makes sense. And my kids aren't the only ones who are getting new laptops. The team actually got one of their grants that they applied for. So I'm super, super excited about this. And I don't even know what the laptops are that they've been using. Yeah, we rethermal pasted them this summer before camps, but I can't remember exactly what they are, the hardware that's in them. But it is time for them to be replaced. And with this grant money, we have a budget of $1,300. So we are looking once again at some used laptops. We're hoping to pick up 6 systems. And this is going to be another one of those eBay scouring situations. Matt, I threw it to you and I also threw it to Bill to kind of help us dig through and find some of these. And asking to get 6 systems with a budget of $1,300, that's including tax and shipping, is a bit tricky, especially where we're wanting them to be touchscreen. We're wanting them to be 14 plus inches. Now, something we'd like to have, but I wouldn't say is necessarily mandatory, is a tablet mode. So these laptops get used in our summer camps. They get used in our other camps during the school year, during the robotics season. And sometimes they're pretty little kids that are using them. So having a touchscreen where they can drag and drop the blocks for their robot is super, super nice. And then last year and this year for sure, hopefully many, many years in the future, we have gotten to work with some low vision kids. And so for them, having larger screens, having the touch screen where they can drag and drop it is really, really important in order for them to have a smoother experience as they're learning the programs, getting their robots to run and work. So, community, if you have a line on laptops that fit this description, let me know, and the team will most likely jump on them. We don't need them right away. I'm not exactly sure when the next camp is. It would definitely be nice to have them before November. So purchasing them sometime here within the next month or so. But I'm super excited that at least one of our grants came through. And now that I'm done finding laptops for myself, finding laptops for the kids, it's time to find laptops for the team.
Well, I mean, it sounds exciting. Always getting new hardware, although
Yes.
hoping to get 6 systems. I mean, I hope we can get something.
Yeah.
So
It would be ideal if we had 6 for sure.
I'm sure the ones you have are probably a little worn at this point.
Yeah, they're definitely long in the tooth. I'm not entirely sure how long they've been using them, and I know they were bought used too when they were picked up. So I'll have to check. I'll have to have, when we're at robotics tomorrow, someone go grab one for me just so I can check the specs and we can kind of compare with what they had and what they'll be using.
I guess I was going to ask that what specifications that you're going to require. I imagine it's for programming, CAD, and probably video editing.
So they're not actually going to be CADing on these, and they will be using the Lego app. So these right now are being used with the older Lego robot. So that's the Lego Mindstorms. They're a much larger brick. I actually have one. I just don't have it where I can go grab one. So I'll throw a picture over here as to what I'm talking about. But now you see it, even though you don't. And eventually,
but you see it.
I do see it. Yes, I do. It's right.
Or you, the listener or the watcher, YouTuber, or YouTubee. I don't know.
Something along those lines. Something in there. But so they are definitely using them with those older Lego robots at the moment. But we are here in the next few years going to need to upgrade to the Spike Prime. So that's going to be another grant. Hopefully we can find one big enough to upgrade to the Spike Prime robots. That is going to be a very hefty grant that we need to get our hands on in order to have enough. So if you go to Lego Education and go to the classroom pack, that's what we'd be looking for. Not cheap, but it would be enough robots that they could do probably both the little kids and the older kids. We might be able to do the same hub instead of getting also a classroom pack of the essentials. I don't know. It just kind of depends on when it's time to upgrade. But when we do upgrade those, depending on what things look like, I'd really like to use Pybricks instead of the Lego app. And in that situation, they'll be needing to work in a browser. So no less than 8 gig of RAM is going to be super important for these. But CADing, no. The team itself already has a desktop they're using. Now, they do need an upgrade of their graphics card because it's a 10 series. But hopefully, I'll be upgrading my graphics card in the next 6-ish months. And when I upgrade, the one that I'm currently running in this system, which I got from Matt, is a 3060 Ti, will be going to the team's desktop so they get an upgrade, which they do CAD on. Nate, we all know that you use and love OpenSUSE, and the Tumbleweed has been your distro. But how do you handle... Yes, of choice. How do you handle all of those kernel versions on the system?
Well, automatically, like when you deploy an OpenSUSE Tumbleweed machine, they'll keep like your current, whatever kernel is installed, and they'll keep a previous version of that kernel as well. And there have been times like when a kernel comes down and there's a regression somewhere on a hardware driver, and it takes a little bit for it to kind of get worked out. And so in OpenSUSE, not a big deal. Obviously, if you are maybe not so technically inclined, this would not be something you'd want to deal with, But I can assure you, I'm going to sneeze. Okay, maybe not. I must be allergic to Matt. Matt, can you move away from the camera just a little bit?
I will move.
I'm leaving that in there.
I will gladly move away from the camera when you shut your mic and camera off, because it makes the show 10 times better.
Sorry about that. I thought I was going to sneeze. I don't want to sneeze on the computer because I like a clean screen or screens.
Right?
rather.
Yeah, you want to keep that good and clean. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm one of those weirdos that cleans my computer every day. No dirty keys here.
Every day?
Every day I wipe my computer down and dust it. I keep a little duster thing right here with my favorite. It's like, whoop, look at that. Look at
is that what he's calling it?
Whoop.
If you need another job, my house is full of dust. You're more than welcome to come over and do some dusting.
Well, you might find me annoying. I mean, just ask Matt.
Wendy.
We're back to the show after our shenanigans that can't stay here. So, Nate, you were talking about kernel versions and all of that fun stuff. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, OpenSUSE keeps will keep you two kernel versions, the current and the previous, and so which is probably fine, really. I mean, I think most people doesn't come up, not an issue, but
right.
There have been a couple times when I was testing newer or older kernels, and I want to just have the option to keep multiple versions and switch between them very easily. That's really the extent of it. And so what I've done now is I've got my system set up where I can keep just automatically 5 kernel versions. It's not like space is an issue anyway. And so what this is, the wiki is actually very well written, so it's not a big deal, but it meant I did have to look around for it, to find how do I keep multiple kernel versions. So I thought I'd just create a short little article. That's what I did, what I edited, and then how I configured it for me personally, and then pointed to you also to the OpenSUSE wiki for more information. And then anyway, and so it's just convenient right now because when kernel 6.11.0 dropped, it broke my display link driver, so I would lose 2 monitors, and I like having all my monitors. So I'm hanging out the older kernel version, and I'll test out the new kernels to see if the drivers have been fixed, and if they're fixed, not a problem. But until then, I'll just stay on 6.10. Whatever it is I got. 6.10.11. And then,
nice.
Yep. And so that's it. That's really the extent of it. It's kind of handy to be able to do that. It's very easy to do. It's one little config file, and you just put in there. It's kind of funny. It's latest -1, latest -2, latest -3, and running. And
right, perfect.
And so that makes it work well. So that was it. I thought it was really neat to be able to just do that very easily. And then there's right in the YAST, the bootloader settings, you can go in. You can actually, if you want to set a specific kernel when it boots, for now, which is I just have it right now automatically booting to the slightly older kernel. Very easy to do. I can lock in on a specific one just for the time being. And then when everything is all worked out and I get all the bugs kind of, stamped out, I can keep flying. So it's nice. So not only do I have rollback options if I do break my system, but I also have the option of locking specific packages or the kernel and whatnot. And I just really appreciate that about Tumbleweed. It's all the tooling is right there so that you can make rolling work very effectively. And I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice. And it makes sense in order to set it to the kernel that you're currently booting, because no one wants to sit there and wait for grub to pop up, because inevitably something happens and you walk away and you're like, crap, it booted. And that's not where I need it to be.
Yep, exactly. So, Matt, I know that you're using OpenSUSE according to the little, by the way, I'm using OpenSUSE. See? I see that?
Yeah, he is.
And I didn't even change that. So obviously it's the truth.
Or I didn't change it either.
So Matt must be. So I understand now with OpenSUSE you're using a new monitor. And do tell about this. As you're drifting off and shaking your head.
He's got to fix it. He's got to fix what Casper changed before he can go to do it.
Casper the shady ghost.
So here's something else to edit out. Yes, I did get a new monitor, Nate. So unfortunately, I literally got to the studio today, and here it be.
So you haven't even got
Nice.
to open it yet.
I have not
Whoa.
even opened it yet.
So you're telling me
I'm-
all about this. Is very interested. You're even trying to get me to buy it for myself, which I was tempted, but I didn't do it. And yet you haven't opened yours yet.
Wait. Time out. He sent you that message too.
Yeah. And he put it
Yes.
on his personal Telegram group.
Yes.
Interesting.
So on the short version, no, Nate, I have not opened it yet because literally I got here as of about a half an hour before we're supposed to be here, and this was sitting on the
Voila.
desk when I walked to the studio. So
Yeah.
I did not want to take the time to essentially potentially brick the recording system until after recording was done. I'm not Michael or Ryan who choose really bad times to upgrade.
So no. So Ryan has very bad times to upgrade. Michael would leave it in the box
Just
for
never.
another 3 months. Yeah.
No. Yeah, this would sit on the shelf in the background as a prop for the next 3 months, untouched.
For the next 3 months. Yes. Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yes. So I picked this up. It was after tax. I had a 7 or 10% coupon off, so it was about another $8 off. So it was about $80 for what I paid for it. This is
I see $89.99 in the show notes. So
that's how much it normally is.
Oh, okay. So $90, and you got it for about 80. All right, that's not.
Yeah,
that ain't too bad.
It's not,
I don't think
it is
at all.
It's a 12.1 inch, 1920 by 860 60 hertz touchscreen monitor. This is mostly for window management and communication management and stuff. So my main monitor is kind of just clean and more singular focus, because generically the way I set it up here is if I'm using a secondary monitor, the recording system has just this one monitor here. That's all I use it for. Like there's not a lot of, if I'm using like a laptop and stuff, is generally what I'm doing. It's bigger monitor. So this will play well with for recordings and that stuff. For like when I do unboxings and for like OBS and that kind of stuff. So I can move that down and have that and still see the primary stuff that I need. So it's all just, but I didn't need a full, another 32-inch monitor to try to figure out where to put that. I already got that one and this one over here. So
are you sure?
Yes, I'm not you and Nate.
So I find this kind of interesting because I do have, like, I can see a use for this, not here, but when I'm at my lab where I had been recording from historically, and I'll probably go back there at some point in time. I just don't feel like it right now. Maybe
we can
after
only
the winter.
hope. We can only
hope. What? Hope what?
That you go back to the hole in the wall. That is your lab.
Cubicle
keep
lab.
The lights off. Keep the lights off. Keep the camera off, and make sure you keep the mic off.
I think what you're saying is you don't want me here, but I know that you don't mean that. So anyway, I have the way I have that set up. I have my main monitor, then have like an auxiliary monitor just above, and it's sometimes just a little bit on the small side, and it's a lower resolution screen. Now it works well enough, really, but this would give me a little bit more real estate. It would have more pixel density, which that's not as big of a deal, but just like a little more real estate, and that might be pretty handy. I see it also has a VESA mount for it as well, so I could, or VESA.
However, yeah, one of the two.
I say VESA. Anyway, easy to mount up there. Basically, I could probably use the mount that I have already. I think it's maybe. But anyway, and so that'd be actually really quite handy. Or even, I could maybe have both. I keep the old one there and add another one. That would be the cat's pajamas right there.
Absolutely.
So, honestly, the biggest thing I liked about this is the port selection that it has, because you can also USB-C, HDMI. It gives you a couple different options to have video output. So there's also that. Honestly, because the way they have it, you can either, vertical or you can have it horizontal.
And it's one of the few that actually has built-in speakers on it too. So if you're needing something with speakers, that would come in pretty handy.
When you get it done, I'd like to see like how thick is it and how portable it actually is. If it has like a cover for it or what we got going on.
So I mean,
could do an unboxing here. Put it put that nice little like jazzy music, in the background. What?
That's the box width of it. So, right,
so I'm
going to make this episode
35 minutes and 40 seconds
hard for Wendy to edit.
Yeah, I wouldn't do something so awful because I can't.
I know you never. I know you do.
Never.
I know.
Now
there's all that friend love.
Anyway, so yeah, like I said, for me, it's just more window management and the way I have a setup. The 14, 15 inch portable monitors were they're too big for the setup here. This will probably go right in front, almost like Nate, like kind of like a mission control kind of thing where everything just kind of slides down, it's out of the way, because I have about a gap about this big between the mount of the monitor I have and this will literally fit perfect right where it is. So you can tilt it down at an angle and don't even really see it. So like for me, that was as far as the speakers, yes, they do have speakers. These are more billed from what I've seen as like portable monitors for like gaming systems. Most of the stuff I've seen for reviews for is like Switch and that kind of stuff. For me, is it cool that you can game on it? Yeah, but like it's portable. Like I can't really quantify that currently. But for me, that's not why I bought it. The speakers were just like, oh, it's cheap. That was more my MO. It was like, because I'd looked at, the 7-inch screens and it's like, man, they're either too low res, they're require a Raspberry Pi or, just a bunch of other random stuff that I just didn't want to deal with. And this was like a one and all solution. I was like, sweet, let's go with that. And the price wasn't terrible.
It fits your general peculiar choices in hardware too. So I like
Agreed.
that, because remember you remember that laptop you had that was like, it was like really wide,
21 by 9, the 21 by 9 laptop,
and ultra wide.
So for those that don't know, at one point I had a 14.4 inch, I think it was a Toshiba Satellite, if I remember correctly. It was a Toshiba Satellite, like S400, U400, something like that. Old school, like one of the first, like when they did Ultrabooks, like that big kick. But it had a 21 by 9 aspect ratio for the monitor. So it was super, like, kid you not, it was probably as long as this box as far as like the actual, how can I say that without Nate going totally in the opposite direction? As far as using the actual laptop, because it had a 1792 by 768 resolution for the monitor. So it was really cool for side-by-side stuff, and it was also had really, really good speakers. Those were the two things. Unfortunately, the last model that I had, I did get rid of, because what ends up happening is it has that kind of rubberized coating on it, and they start to kind of deteriorate after a while.
Oh, and yeah.
It's a 10-year-old. It's a 10 or 11-year-old system, so they're starting to deteriorate, unfortunately. So that system kind of went away. As much as I like the actual system, because while oddly shaped, it is. Anyway, so I would highly recommend looking at some of these external monitors, especially if you're just looking for a different type of like window management and that kind of stuff. Like I said, for me, it's more about kind of just my own personal, office setup here. I didn't need space wise. I just can't afford another monitor. I already have this one sitting on a tripod TV mount just to have that out of the way. So, and it under $100, like I can almost like, it doesn't feel like I'm totally getting ripped off. Some of the other ones, like, you can get like the high refresh screens and, normal resolutions and all that stuff. And ironically, while yes, I can use the minis forums, 2-in-1 that I have as a portable monitor, this is different because this is literally staying here. Whereas the other one is a tear up, tear down kind of situation. I just don't want to keep
packing it with you, doing other things. Yeah.
Even though it's a 2-in-1 and it's simple.
I'm in the market for some portable monitors to go with my mobile workstation, aka my massive laptop. But I'm wanting something in the 2K range and definitely something on the larger screen size so that the workflow between all of the different monitors is a bit consistent. So that's part of the reason why I haven't picked some up yet. So I have found some on eBay where you can get the ones that are a lot more expensive, where they're refurbished or whatever, for a lot cheaper. So those are the ones that I kind of have my eye on. But this one in particular, I was kind of thinking, especially for the price, I would love to have a monitor on the 3D printer that I have on there so that it could use Clipper screen. And something like this is perfect.
That would be really
cool. Right, exactly. I don't need, not that I would need the speakers on it, but having something that size, that resolution is perfectly fine. Touchscreen, it has to be touchscreen for Clipper screen because it's built for touchscreen. And then it can connect directly into the Raspberry Pi and I'm off to go. So I'm curious how this one works, how you like it after you get it set up. And maybe there's one in my future too.
Well, I ran the numbers on it. So for every $1 you spend on this monitor at its regular price, it's roughly 18,920 pixels per dollar.
Not bad.
It's a good deal. Matt, you say you do well sometimes.
Sometimes.
And then I show up here and have to deal with you, and then it all goes.
Right.
Look, that's just because you make bad choices sometimes.
Being here is one of them.
Yeah.
Only if Nate's here. All right. So while we are, getting new hardware and all the other fun stuff with software that we do, another company, though, is going all in on the software that they currently already support in a much more direct way. And Valve is now directly collaborating with Arch. This is a really big deal because Valve recently made the announcement that SteamOS is going to be starting to be available for kind of its quote unquote Steam Deck competitors. And Wendy, you can fall asleep now, but which is super important though for getting a Linux based consumer grade and consumer ready OS out to the general public on those particular devices, because the Windows experience, from my personal experience, is 100% terrible on those devices. So I find this very intriguing. It gives Valve a much bigger footprint on what they are going to do for Arch development as a whole. Just overall, I think it's a great idea because you can, just from a theoretical point of view, that means newer hardware gets in the kernel quicker. Like, there's a lot of different things that they can potentially do by having a direct line of collaboration with Arch, especially with them already making it an Arch-based OS that, by the way, Nate uses.
Yes, he does. And I think we've lost Matt, by the way, because when Nate got his Steam Deck, I remember having a conversation about how long it was going to take before the Arch-based system was wiped from it, even though it is one where it's not the typical Arch. It kind of escapes me right now that the
Immutable.
that it is. Yes, there you go. So even though it was an immutable system, it was still Arch. How long it was going to take before he wiped that and OpenSUSE was on? And that still hasn't happened yet, has it?
No, it hasn't. And I'll say, Arch in general is, I want to say this as nicely as possible. It's kind of garbage, really. And I know that's like
yes.
Well, just in general, because it doesn't have there's no intelligence in the packaging system. So it's just, you have to read everything before you do updates and then hope that everything goes well. It's across your fingers. You don't have the rollback option if things do break. You have to I guess there's some manual ways of making it work. But by default, it doesn't have all the tooling around it that makes rolling possible. So that's my issue with it. And I think that it's also the packaging system itself is not really intelligent either. So it's not really a good, because it can very easily just break things. So anyway, I think I enjoy the fact that Arch is very much, it's the wild, wild west, really. I mean, you can literally do whatever you want. You can slam things together and make things work any way you like or not, and discover what doesn't work. So it's a great learning platform, I guess. But I don't think it's a good, I don't think the tooling is there to make it a viable distribution for me at all. Now, if you want to spend the time and play in the go through the release logs and everything else to make sure everything's going to work, there's no problems, go forth and do great things, have fun with it. If that's your passion, that's great for you. If I'm going to be managing multiple systems, they're not going to be Arch. However, what Valve has done with that tooling and basically made an immutable distribution, creating snapshots that it rolls out to the Steam Deck, that's basically perfect for the Steam Deck. And if they go forth and they do other work and such that they're going to actually have implement QA and whatnot, then there's actually it turns into something very compelling as a platform. This is going to turn Arch from being what I consider a dumpster fire of a distribution. No offense. I mean that in the nicest possible way, a flaming dumpster fire, into something that's actually, out of that mess, some really refined, precious metal here, because having that tooling, the quality assurance, having a build platform that actually does all this work, that's a total game changer. That makes Arch very viable for more than just the enthusiast, the Linux, by the way I use Arch dudes or dudettes. So this is I think nothing but good news, and I'm a big believer in rising tides raise all ships. So now you get the kid in the back of the classroom that's eating paste finally getting along with the rest of the classroom and actually doing some real quality assurance on the distribution. This is fantastic. This is really this is great news. This is nothing but great news. And also,
yes.
To truly, and I'm going to say this, and you can hold this against me. If things go like nutty in the OpenSUSE world and just totally off the rails, which it has that potential every year, it seems like, this is a great escape hatch for me, because Fedora isn't quite there, because Fedora Red Hat experiments in Fedora, so you get all kinds of strangeness with Fedora from time to time, and Arch, just sits in the corner and eats paste, but it has like the concepts of what I think would be a great rolling distribution. But doing snapshotting and actually having a release cadence, this could be something very special, and I'm excited to see. I'm personally extremely excited to see what comes from this. This is nothing but great news.
So to be clear, this collaboration between Arch and Valve is working on two main projects. The first one is the build service infrastructure, and the second one is the secure signing. And with that secure signing, instead of having each package individually signed by PGP keys, you're having a much larger overall signing of those packages, which they're saying will make it easier for Proton and the anti-cheat with that gaming. And for me, whether you use Arch or not, the fantastic thing about open source is this has trickle down and trickle up. So every single distribution, yes, trickle across. There you go. That's much better terminology. So this has the advantage of making gaming better on whichever Linux distribution you love.
Mm-hmm. This is pun intended. This is a game changer for Arch, and really will have ripple effects all across the entire Linux ecosystem. If that's an ecosystem,
yes.
The Linux open source,
the thing that I'm really
loosely
excited
connected
about on it,
grouping. Yeah. Anyway, yep. Mm-hmm.
The thing I'm really excited about for this though is the open build service, essentially, that they're looking to more or less implement. Which, Nate, I know that's one of your favorite things about SUSE, OpenSUSE, whatever name they're going by with, because they're confused currently. So,
yeah.
Am I wrong? With that, so I think that is a big changer when it comes to like the breakage of a system potentials and that kind of stuff. A lot of the pain points that even Arch users will be the one to tell you that, like, there are some pain points with Arch. Like, I'm not gonna say like the package manager is a dumpster fire or any of that stuff. I know Nate has his take on it, and we all have our take on it, and different distros and stuff. But for me,
like, it's like the kid with his Honda Civic that's got a fart pipe in the back that makes and vinyl stickers everywhere, hockey stopping into and parallel parking with it. That's what Arch is like. It just slams things in, and sometimes they get it right and it looks awesome, and sometimes it doesn't go right, and then you've got a repair bill. So
to Nate's point, there are distros that I feel that are based around Arch that do it right, like SteamOS. I will say Garuda, for the most part, there are still issues with Garuda that I have, but as far as like a generalized OS, they do make it. They have Snapper and ButterFS and make rollbacks easy. So like there's distros that do it right, and then they're like, Nate, what you're talking about is just like, here's kind of an install script, go and bash your way through
right, but if you want that experience, if you want that raw Arch experience, absolutely go for it. I think I've installed Arch from scratch once. I think I've done it once, and I was like, yay, I did it. And then for me, I've used an Arch-based distro for years, but it was something like Manjaro or Garuda, where a lot of that work was already done for me, and then I'm just adding my finishing touches on top of it. You still really should go through and read before you update. I've got a friend who's great at that. I, not so much. And for the most part, I've been pretty gosh dang lucky just rolling the dice and upgrading every week, especially when it comes to really big upgrades. So, pick your poison, I guess. But this is amazing. This is amazing for the Linux community, and more specifically, the gaming community on Linux. I feel like I'm beating my head against the wall even every time that I use the heroic launcher, because it seems like, okay, I've got this game and I try to make it work, and this doesn't work and that doesn't work, and I'm like, gosh dang it, if it was just on Steam, it would be fine. It'd be fine. I could go into Proton DB, say like, yep, this is the version of Proton I need to use, this is the little tweak I need to use, and it's fine. Whereas I don't feel like I have that same compatibility, that same ease of getting games to work inside of something like Heroic or Lutris or anything else like that. Steam just makes it so easy. And this is almost like, maybe, fingers crossed, that some of these other platforms could become easier potentially with this work on the background. Not getting my hopes up too much yet, but I have to greatly thank Valve for the work that they're putting into open source. And I know even though Valve themselves are not an open source company, I do feel better when I buy a game from them because they are contributing back.
And even they have actually made their EULA, their end user license agreement, better. Like usually companies go and make things worse, but they just rolled back a bunch of like all that arbitration, whatever nonsense that some other like really nasty companies have tried to, harm their customers with.
When Valve will say sue me, they actually mean it.
Yes.
They don't care.
They do.
Like, sue us.
So
like, I think that's essentially what they did.
So I think Valve is kind of like the they're going against the grain and everything. Seems like since they started supporting Linux, that the good culture bits from Linux are getting into Steam or into Valve, and everything from right to repair friendly Steam Deck, and then now they're taking their EULA, and it seems like maybe they fired their greedy lawyers or something like that. I don't know what they did.
Their legal team.
They did something magical, and the fact they're rolling that stuff back and being kind of more awesome is actually awesome. And now they're doing this with Arch. They're taking, what I would consider I wouldn't say the bottom end of distributions. There's a few below. I'm not going to say which ones those are, but pretty close to the bottom of the barrel when it comes to distributions, and raising them up to being something really great. And I think they have all the potential too of making the immutable distributions a lot more accessible to people as well. Because like my problem with immutable is, if you have a special configuration for something, you either have to build it somewhere else and pull it down or whatever. But I'd love to see something like an immutable distribution. Maybe it had like immutable chunks that work together. So you have, and that'd be that's a whole nother discussion of what that could mean. But anyway,
well, I mean, it is, but it isn't, because if it makes immutable better, because I've tried, Ryan sang the praises of Blend OS. There's one show where I think he says it 6 times in a row. Just saying the name of the distribution. And I have tried to use it in the past and throwing on the kitchen system. Yeah, it's worked completely fine. But to use it on my working system, I've ran into issues because, hey, I'm trying to use this piece of software and it's not able to use my drivers, and just having a whole bunch of issues with immutable and trying to get things to communicate that I need to communicate. It can be great if you're saying, hey, I need this thing from Debian and I need this thing from Arch and I need this thing from Fedora. I found them amazing as far as like your standard immutable system, but Valve has it at least right so far, in that it seems to be a very usable piece of software for their hardware. And then hopefully those lessons can be taken to other immutable systems. I can see places where they're very beneficial. Handing something to kids, school situation, that way. One of the biggest issues with, especially, and I don't want to say how old I am, but back when I was in school, is all the viruses and stuff that you would get built on top of things because kids just randomly downloading. Now,
look, I know I wouldn't 8 say years Linux is a long time, but I wouldn't worry too much.
Well, thank you so much. I think we're best friends now. But just having that extra layer of security where you're basically putting things in public places like schools or handing them to kids where they're not always great about the stuff that they're downloading as an extra layer of security is quite nice. And even for myself, I know I've destroyed systems in the past because I'm like, well, I'll just remove that. Whether it's my desktop, whether it's my phone. Yes, I've completely trashed Android because I've been rude and was like, let's see what we can delete. Yeah, I've broken stuff. I've broken plenty of stuff in my day. And sometimes it's great if you're playing and testing. But sometimes you just need it to work. And I think this could make it better.
So I think Valve's approach, honestly, is probably the best balance. Because you can, it ships immutable, but you can shut it off.
Right.
Like they don't impede. So this is where certain distros will impede other, say, package formats and say, nope, you can't install said package format. I'll let you determine what I mean. And
but it doesn't stick though.
Valve,
when you do an upgrade, when you get updates, that does everything you changed, it gets wiped out, and they have a new.
Yeah,
you have to start over. So it's like a nuke and pave for every update, essentially.
Yeah, which is again part of the problem. There are still kinks to work out, but I think
they have added some really cool features, and there will be a Cubicle 8 article on this very soon because I'm working on it. But there is about they have made it easier to run DistroBox because they've included all that stuff. But they've done some really neat things on the underpinnings, which makes it even more compelling to use SteamOS because you can do all that stuff in userland as far as like having your DistroBox pods or whatever, using Podman. I think it uses Podman, but it uses all that stuff to make it easier to do whatever you want with the Steam Deck. I mean, they've really opened it up in a fantastic way that I don't see. There's no way they can make Arch worse. It's impossible. They're only going to make Arch better, and it's going to
only get better from here, right?
So I want to make the irony of this totally relevant to the audience. The most consumer-facing, friendly Linux-based OS that is not from Google in any way, shape, or form is a Arch-based distro on a handheld gaming PC or console, depending on how you want to look.
Because it's set up as an appliance that has not kneecapped itself, that you can do other things with it. So it's what consumer electronics should have been this entire time, and they've just chosen to make a consumer device that doesn't abuse its an OS that does not abuse its consumers. So
before people complain we're fanboying for Valve and a for-profit company, yes. Mm-hmm. If you fanboyed for IBM back in the early 2000s when they jumped on the Linux bandwagon, you ain't got no leg to stand on. Sorry, just what it is.
Well, here's the thing. Somebody's got to pay for what we get for free. There's some
nothing is
servers
free.
don't servers don't run for free. They cost electricity. Yep. I think the days of you running your distribution out of your basement is kind of not. I mean, I guess you can still do that, but it's not the same. It's not the same now as it was. The demands, the expectations are so much higher now. You have to have some sort of sustainability in Linux, otherwise it's not going to be around. Unless the people are, here's the thing to think about. Chickens are not endangered species because they are self-sustaining. They provide something for humans.
Yes.
Whether you want to eat the chickens or eat their eggs, they keep you alive. They run around, they eat the bugs, and they eat them or the eggs. Well, unless you're vegan, then you don't do that. But anyway, so that's, if you don't want to, I like eggs. Anyway, the point is, there's, if Linux is providing you a meal, as it were, if it's helping to pay the bills so you can sustain yourself through some sort of a, mutually economically beneficial model that helps everybody out, then it's got legs, it's going to stand, it's going to run. Unless if it's providing value, true value in some fashion, it's not going to last. So that's just how it works. I mean, I can, there's many examples you can use for that. But anyway, point is, no, that would have been bad. I was gonna say, Linux has to be self-sustaining. It's got to have, I am now, because of my knowledge of Linux and open source and my desire to learn more about technology, that's how I sustain myself now. It hasn't always been the case, but it is now. And so, there's value in Linux, like lots of value in Linux. So just got to make sure there's value at different levels of Linux as well. And I think Valve is doing something at more consumer level Linux, like Red Hat and SUSE and Canonical. They're making money off of the commercial stuff that's really very uninteresting, really, as a consumer. And so that doesn't really benefit. And the fact that we have a consumer level device that, the business model is based on our passion and our love for technology, that's all the better. And so what Valve is doing, if you don't like them, that's fine. You don't have to.
So let it be known that Nate is a fan of Valve and complimented their work on a Arch-based distro that, by the way, he runs.
Yes, he does.
Which we're not going to get to it now, but I had a problem with the Steam Deck, but we can talk about that next time.
Ooh, and I've been distro hopping, which is like a big thing because I've been on Manjaro or Garuda forever. So that's going to have to wait for next time too. We've just spent so much time talking about other stuff and then going off the rails. Yeah, I know. Lots of content edits in this show. Never. But we'll get to it next week.
There's probably a good 15 minutes of content edits you have to take out of this.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe 20.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, now it's your turn to toss in your 2 cents of today's topic. Say the discourse forums, drop us a line under this video or on the contact form by visiting tuxdigital.com/contact. If you'd like to hang out with us on our preferred social media, see the link at the bottom of the show description. You can find other great shows like Pseudo Show, Destination Linux, and Linux Saloon, and more at tuxdigital.com. Show off your love for your favorite podcasts and shows by visiting the Tux Digital merch store. Grab yourself some awesome swag like the gamer-centric I pause my game to be here every week. Or join hashtag Team Wendy with some sinister Wendy swag. She's evil. We need to fix that.
Not as nice as Jill, but pretty gosh dang close. There you go.
She's evil. As always, thank you for joining us. We'll be back next time with another awesome episode of Linux Out Loud. Until then, keep the banner friendly, the conversation somewhat on topic, and have fun doing it.